it is time for us to have a chat over lunch because since the last time I vlogged, so much has changed in my life, from where I live to my job to my outlook on life. Everything has completely changed. So let's get into it. To tell the story accurately, I have to start 4 years ago. For the last 4 years, I was working at a TV station in Minnesota, and so many things happened in my life in that 4 year span, from that being my first job out of college to it being my job 1 year out of college, 2 years out of college, 3 years out of college, to then 4. And I changed so much as a person. I really grew and found out who I was in some difficult and challenging circumstances. And I think sometimes that's really how you learn yourself the best, learn who you are. And now, fast forward to now, and what has been since late July, I'm working at a TV station in San Antonio, Texas, the top TV station in the market, and I'm a sports anchor reporter. My dreams have come true, and I pinch myself every day because this is all I've ever wanted. But I want to explain how I got here because it's a really interesting journey, and I'm really proud of it. So, fresh out of college, I had several job offers to work in the Midwest, maybe a little bit in the South, one on the East Coast, and I felt like the best fit for me was to work in Minnesota. It was a location that I wanted to be, and I liked the market itself. It's high school sports culture, covering Minnesota sports. I had just gone to Iowa State, so I was a little bit more familiar with Minnesota than I was, let's say, Missouri or Wisconsin. And with that, to work in Minnesota, I had to accept the only opportunity I had that wasn't sports related. So it was an MMJ position, just a general news reporter for a station in Mankato, Minnesota called KEYC. And when I started as an MMJ, it ended up being a wonderful transition to what was college life to now the professional work environment, because I worked 9 to 5, and I knew one day when I eventually got into sports, which was and is and will always be my desire, I was going to have to work a lot of late nights. So this allowed me to still have some fun on the weekends, still have some fun in the evenings. All my friends from Iowa State were living in Minneapolis. So with that, I would go out and hang out with them. It was just, a great transition from college life. But then, about maybe a little bit less than a year into my position, I was presented with an opportunity to become the weekend news anchor, which I was a little bit weary of just because it wasn't sports. I didn't want it to take me away from sports opportunities I had on the side with the sports department. But I ended up taking that role, and wow, what a time to be a weekend news anchor, especially as a young developing professional in the news industry, because at the start of the year, I was anchoring stories related to President Donald Trump's impeachment trial. Later on, I'm trying to think of the order that happened. Kobe Bryant passed away. So that happened a couple hours before I was about to go on air on a weekend, on a Saturday. And then COVID happened. So that was very interesting to cover. And then the George Floyd protests that happened in Minneapolis. So it was quite the time to be a weekend news anchor. Then, after that, the opportunity in the sports department opened up. So I'm 2 years into the job, finally get the opportunity to be the sole weekend sports anchor reporter, and I'm all over it. I'm so excited. It's during COVID, so it kind of prolonged growth for a year, and just in terms of being able to get out there, shoot sports, do the whole thing, which I'm sure almost everyone can relate to in one way or another. And from then on, I fulfilled the role of being weekend sports anchor, and it was awesome for so many reasons. I got to go cover the Frozen Four in Boston when the Minnesota State men's hockey team advanced, and I had the opportunity to just cover some amazing high school sporting events in US Bank Stadium, from soccer to football. It was wonderful. But behind the scenes, internally, that 4 years was a very challenging time for me, I would say, because, well, one, I was very eager and anxious to achieve my dreams and take that next step, go to a bigger market station or get an opportunity with a sports network and just take that next step simply. That didn't happen for me. After year one, I still needed some more growth. Like, I could tell internally, emotionally, I wanted to jump at a new opportunity, but I needed a little bit more time to develop. A year and a half goes by, I start getting interest from other stations across the country, throughout the Midwest, and that was such a rewarding feeling, having other stations interested in me, because I knew what I wanted, but to be accepted back and for other people to share my vision of what I could be or what I wanted to be or what I was great. So around that year and a half, 2 year mark, markets like Fresno, California, Duluth, Minnesota, various stations throughout the Midwest, I'm kind of forgetting some of them, reached out and said, hey, the job is yours if you want it. And I was like, that's amazing. But also, I kind of feel like I could take a much bigger step potentially if I stay here a little bit longer at my station in Minnesota. So these were stations that range from, I would say, 150 to 50. And I was at a 198. But I was thinking more of that top 30 area. I wanted to be in a large market with major sports in town and get that much closer to my dreams quicker. So when I made that decision to kind of wait it out and try and grow as much as I can at the station I was at, I started applying and getting some interviews with bigger market stations, but none of them really led anywhere. So that's when I revisited some old emails I had of agents that were interested in representing me. Which before I was like, we're in a society where it's so easy to connect with employers through social media, through email, in person, whatever it is, we're so connected. But some time went by that wasn't really working out for me to find opportunities on my own. So I went and signed with an agency, and it was an agency that really aligned with what my vision for myself was. That wasn't the case for all of them, because I had taken some phone calls before, and you could tell we weren't aligned in our thinking for some of the conversations I was having. So at this point, I'm about year 3, and I am signed with an agency, and I'm ready to find my large market opportunity, my big break. And it happened. I got an opportunity to jump on the phone with the news director at the TV station KSAT 12 in San Antonio, Texas, home of the Spurs, covered the Cowboys, tons of high school football, you name it, it's here. And the conversations went well. It was a 2-month process. It was not a short process. They did their due diligence in finding out who would be the best candidate for them, with over 500 applicants. And every conversation I had with the sports director, it it just felt like we were so in sync. We would work well together. He saw potential in me. And there was no doubt a huge jump. I was coming from a 198. This is a market 31. So they were taking a little bit of a gamble. I mean, it's simply with just the market size, you can kind of look at it that way. From their perspective, maybe they felt like that wasn't the case because they saw what I had in me and what I worked so hard to achieve. So that was wonderful. I eventually accepted the job opportunity and moved here to Texas. So it's been a whirlwind. And it's been an emotional ride. There's been times where I've really doubted myself in those 4 years. Not doubted myself like, I cannot be amazing in this industry and achieve all my dreams. I've always stayed with that and felt confident, but just doubted whether or not I was going to get the opportunities. I was going to be the one that lightning struck in a bottle. Like, things have to really align to grow in such a competitive industry in more ways than one. And I was worried, like, what if it just doesn't happen for me that way, even though I have the talent, I have all of what I know myself to have, which, hey, everyone has their own opinions. Of course, I'm going to be my biggest supporter and believer. So now I have been in my role as a sports anchor reporter for about 2 months, and I've had so many pinch me moments already. I've covered Dallas Cowboys games in Dallas at AT&T Stadium. I'm going live from AT&T Stadium. I'm covering or anchoring high school football events. Like, I'm anchoring some of the biggest nights in sports, and the NBA season hasn't even started yet. It's crazy. I will say too, it's kind of cool in my perspective to come from the state of hockey to the state of Texas. Like, I get to see for myself what these really passionate fan bases, these states that feel as though they are the greatest at representing, at cultivating, at creating these different sports. It is very cool, and there is a lot of pride here in Texas. So I'm very excited to be here. It has been awesome. I am living in a beautiful apartment, an apartment that I spent so much time decorating, and I'm going to have to give a tour in another vlog. But also, speaking of lightning in a bottle, catching lightning in a bottle, I got into a relationship during COVID, and my relationship had been wonderful. There was a lot of strain on the relationship just because I was not feeling confident in myself, trying to chase my dreams while, maybe feeling a little bit stagnant in my life, just as a human being, not as a professional. Like, my job at KEYC was amazing. I grew so much. I loved the people I worked with, but I just wanted to take that next step. And in my personal life, though, it kind of translated in weird ways. I felt just emotional and frustrated because I was ready. So anyways, but the relationship had been so great. And my boyfriend, it all worked out for him to be able to come with me to live in Texas, and his job was able to transfer him down here and make it an easy, smooth transition. So we both drove down here together with his mom and moved in. And that part within itself has also felt like, what is my life? How am I so lucky? Because I grew up kind of thinking I would never be in a relationship, and I would never have kids, and I would never do anything that normal people do because I wanted to achieve my dreams in this industry. So far, I've gotten to kind of break that mold, I guess, of what I thought my life would be. So here we are now. I still can't believe I'm a Texan. That's crazy. And I want to be able to talk a little bit more about my career and my journey because I feel incredibly lucky. I am the first female sports anchor that this station has ever hired, which feels amazing. but it's also a huge responsibility to come in and earn the respect of all of the viewers in this market. It's no joke. Like, I'm not walking in with credibility. No one knows me, so I have to prove myself credible with every opportunity I have to be in front of the wonderful community here in the greater San Antonio area. And there's a lot of learning curves. I don't want to say it's all been perfect. Like, the first month I went through a really difficult time. I was overwhelmed with all of what is working in a big market with a lot of eyes on you, but I was also feeling no self-worth or confidence. Like, I just, in a way, going from such a small market to a big market, I felt like maybe I was in over my head. Like, am I ready for this? Because I have a lot of catching up to do. I have to be great right away, and I need a little bit of time to get to that point. Luckily, I've been able to take little steps in the right direction and find my confidence, get more and more comfortable on air, and it's a process. You can never stop growing in any industry, especially the TV industry. It's a craft, and it's going to be a wild journey, but I'm here and I'm ready for it. And I can finally say I've been living the dream, but it really feels like I'm living the dream now. And that's what's happened in the last however many months since I have vlogged. It's been, I think, about exactly 1 year. A lot's happened. Cheers.